Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Greeditational, and today we'll be going over round 5 of the $1,000 Little Cup tournament I am hosting, where some of the best Little Cup players of all time are competing against each other. We're nearing the final stages of the Swiss stage portion of the tournament, and the remaining players are truly giving it their all this week. Before we jump into the tournament games, let's have a quick refresher on the format. Players first go through a tier veto system where they alternate between picking and banning 3 generations of Little Cup, with the 3 tiers remaining being played in a best of 3 series. This video is only a recap of the highlight games that happened during this round, so if you want to see all the games live or watch all the replays, be sure to check out the links in the description to both my Discord where live matches are posted, or the Smogon forums where you can also find the usage stats of Pokemon. If you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, as videos covering the remaining rounds and then Top Cut will also be posted here. Anyway, let's get into the matches. Alright, first game we're going to be covering, we have Kither versus Brufasa in DPP Little Cup. Note, both of these players are 4-0, meaning that whoever wins this series will then go on to a 5-0 record and guarantee themselves into Top Cut. As we get into the lead matchups, we see Apom versus Ponyta. Ponyta opting to switch out immediately to the Duskull, not wanting to take those strong normal type fake outs. Whalmer's going to be the switching for the Duskull, most likely going for a Whisk as it does. Water Veil coming clutch you to be immune to the burn. Snover opts to be Fatties. Water resistance here is it takes 44% from that, most likely from that full power water spell. Croagunk comes in protecting the grass move. It gets clicked as 45%. Croagunk going to go down to about half HP. Probably going to get its berry procced here with Hail. There it is. Snover also getting it procced through recoil. Reveals Protect as Focus Blast gets clicked. Misses, but it wasn't in Protect. So if he's going to hit, now's a good time to go for it. Gligar comes in on an Icy Wing. Great call out by Kither. The Icy Wing connects. 1-hit KO, knockout. Ponyta has to come in to revenge kill. With that Dry Skin becoming weak to fire, it actually opts for a substitute. Smart click here. Kither goes for an Earthquake, winning the speed tie on this one, but Ponyta goes for Will-O-Wisp, trying to get a bird into the Gligar, hoping he'll make good progress later down the line. Ponyta obviously switching out, not wanting to stay in against that ground type, but Kither smart goes for rocks, and a great time to get those rocks up too. You see 2 rocks weeks here, and reveals U-turn, getting more chip into this Snover. Gonna be really good for that Whalmer in the back, but the Snover reveals its stealth as Swords Dance. Now only at 52%, has Protect as well, most likely is going to have Ice Shard as well, and opts to have to actually switch out now against this Croagunk. Croagunk goes for another Vacuum Wave instead, both Mons taking, as the Duskull came in, reveals Shadow Ball as well, not able to get the knockout here, doing 70% though. Duskull comes, clicks Return, Berry's already been procced on this Croagunk, so it is going to go down to a Shadow Sneak now. It gets clicked by Fatty the next turn. Kither now has to bring in something else, and he goes into the Apom, most likely wanting to click the Shadow Claw to hit it, but Munchlax has to be the switch. Takes 0 damage from that. Great switch by Fatty there. Now gets his Munchlax back in at basically full HP. Gligar comes in from Kither's side, is going to live the double edge and then get the berry proc before burn and hail damage take into effect. Gligar clicks EQ, only does about 30%, but it is enough to get Munchlax berry proc as Fire Punch is clicked the next turn, but with hail and burn chip, Gligar is going to go down. Apom comes in on the other side of the field, again throwing those big normal type damages. Duskull comes in, takes 45%, is now at 40%, sorry, through Hazard. Shadow Claw is going to get clicked next turn, get the knockout on Duskull, and the Apom that reveals this level's light, for which Fatty probably figured out by now. Elk comes in, and now Kither's looking in a really weird spot because his ground type's already dead. Ghastly just getting a 1-hit KO by Life Orb Elekid. Now Kither in the 3 versus 4 might be an interesting spot. The Whalmer comes in the next turn. Ponyta looks like it's going to get sacked here to Water Spout, as it is, knocking out from 92%. Whalmer so strong with that high HP. Water Spouts. Snover's going to click Protect here, smart click, trying to get as much Hail Chip into this as possible, trying to make those Water Spouts as weak as possible. Big critical hit Ice Shard here, going to significantly weaken those Water Spouts. Might not actually get knockouts into this Munchlax and Elekid now. We'll have to see. Kither off. Doesn't opt to go for it though. Double Edge gets clicked, the 60% to his Munchlax, gets the berry proc, takes a lot of recoil damage in the process as well. Could come down to a Munchlax speed tie here. Super Power gets clicked, the 70% knocks out Kither's Munchlax, but at 34%, this thing will most likely go down to a water move. Surf gets clicked on the other side of the field, and last Mon Elekid, you gotta hope that this isn't Scarf somehow and he bluffed, but it is in fact Scarf. Whalmer is gonna get the final knockouts from the 3 versus 4, really showing, hey, why you have to respect the water types in this tier. Because even though he had that water type in Snover, and he had Pokemon Munchlax, it wasn't enough. Kither's able to get this win, and eventually move on to a 5-0 record. Up next, we have our other 4-0 matchup in Week 5. We we have Kaboom / Midas versus Corkscrew. This is game 3 of their series, so winner of this goes on to a 5-0 record to play Kither in week 6, but more importantly, guarantees their spot in top cut. As we look at the matchups here, Kaboom's got a relatively normal looking team of your fighting type Vullaby. You've got your Vullaby answers, fighting type answers, but interesting is Snivy here as well, obviously taking advantage of those contrary Leaf Storms and Glare to slow down opponents. Meanwhile, Corkscrew, though, bringing a really offensive team. You see Diglett, Abra, Magby, Zigzagoon, Shelter. You're thinking setup spam. We've got we got 2 Belly Drummers, we got Shell Smash. Really curious, this Abra could either be Life Orb trying to get some support from Magnemite to trap these Steel types, or really not sure what any of these Pokemon are. Diglett most likely Focus Sash. As we get into the battle, we see Snivy leading to the Diglett. Smart choice here, because Diglett's on these Sash sets often run Memento, and you obviously don't want a Memento into a Snivy, give it a +2 boost. It's going to hit. Earthquake's going to barely do any damage to this Snivy. Goes for a Glare, opting to see if something else would switch in. Since this, now this Snivy's in a big position to do huge damage. Misses, though, as it goes for Light Screen. So we would have seen a 2-hit KO with this Snivy had it hit, but unfortunately, the Magnemite dodge, it also revealed Light Screen, and Hidden Power super effective to hit this Snivy. The Snivy's trying to stall it out when Synthesis stall out this Light Screen. Goes to 70%, and it reveals Encore Abra. So now this Snivy's locked into the move, has to switch out here as the Pawniard comes in afterwards. Knockoff gets clicked, but doesn't reveal an item, so Midas already knows, hey, this is a Z move Shelter. Liquidation gets clicked, it gets a 1-hit knockout into the Pawniard. Real surprising by me there, would have thought it lived. Reveals Z move Breakneck Blitz, but Marini clutches, lives on 1 HP. Magnemite comes in the very next turn, goes for Reflect here as Kaboom goes for Stealth Rock, trying to get that extra damage into the Diglett, but it's just sacked the next turn. Earthquake gets clicked as Zigzagoon goes for a Belly Drum. Really scary position, this thing's behind a screen. Marini's going to have to get sacked on this turn. Goes for a Seed Bomb, showing that's how it's supposed to beat Onyx 1v1. The Onyx comes back in, reveals its Z move. Technotic Rage is going to get a 1-hit knockout into the Zigzagoon. Abra comes in the very next turn. Snivy obviously the switch for Midas. Takes 62% from the Psychics. Preserved the Snivy, actually goes back into his own Volby. Hidden Powers click, not Hidden Power to hit Volby super effectively though. Reveals Focus Sash Abra. So Volby's now Berry Juice procced up. U-turns out, smart U-turn, not trying to give any of these ground weeks a free turn. Magby goes for a Belly Drum here, heals all the way back up because of Berry Juice. Earthquake's gonna get clicked, it does 10%, 90%, lives on 10 HP, 10%. Snivy's gonna get sacked to the Mach Punch. Timber comes in as Magby goes for a Mach Punch, gonna need a super crit, doesn't get it, and Timber clutches out, but really you gotta give all the praise here to the Onyx. Onyx living 2 of those really massive attacks to win Midas this game. Up next in Sword and Shield Little Cup, we have Freezeye versus Enigma. Freezeye, obviously one of the best Little Cup players of all time in this generation, going against Enigma, who is probably one of Gen 9 Little Cup's best players that we have to offer. And come on, it's hard to not want to watch this kind of game when you see the team that Enigma is pulling up with. We have Meowth, Squirtle, Skorupi, and we've got 3 more at least normal looking Pokemon of Vullaby, Marini, Mudbray, and Porygon on the other side. But Freezeye here, wanting to guess, is a more offensive pace with the Dwebble on the team, most likely going to be a hazard lead, and you have potentially Nasty Plot, Vullaby, Sword Stance, Grookey with Diglett as trapping support, and then Starmie plus Ponyta as our fast attacking breakers. Let's get into the game. We see the Staryu lead into the Squirtle. Porygon get a switch in as it chases analytics. So Thunderbolt's only doing 32% as Staryu reveals this of his life, for Dwebble's gonna switch in as the Porygon clicks recover, most likely gonna get a knockoff actually. No hazards going up yet. Skull gets clicked into the Staryu, does 26%. Does it get a burn? No, it doesn't have that natural curl either if it was going to get it. Thunderbolt again doing 32%. Dwebble comes back in on a Thunder Wave this time though. Good heads up click by Enigma. Stealth Rocks do go up, but reveals the Squirtle is Rapid Spin, as Dwebble is now going to get that weak armor boost. Goes for Rock Blast, gets 2 hits, 3 hits, no 4th hit, so the Squirtle is going to live at 19 HP, and also reveals itself, gets a huge Scald crit, and then Aqua Jet, so he's actually able to knock out Staryu there. Huge momentum switch. Grookey's going to come in, and then die to a Skorupi Poison Jab. What is going on in this game? Dwebble's going to click knockoff as the Squirtle is sacked. Meowth comes in, clicks Fake Out, trying to get those weak armor boosts most likely, or defense lowering, so it can do as much damage to this Dwebble as possible. We'll have to see. Goes for C-Bomb, boosting in grassy terrain. Only does 45% though. Will knock out next turn. His Dwebble will get through paralysis. That's 1 hit. That's 2 hits. 3 hits. 4 hits. Oh, missing out just again on this KO, but because of the speed boost, it is able to get up. The spikes and rocks and a knockoff into this Mudbray. This is a really good sequence of turns here for Freeze-Eye. As he Volbee's gonna come in, takes a heavy slam, only does 32% though, as this Volbee's is now nasty plotted up at +2 speed. Air Slash gonna get the knockout into Mudbray because of that knockoff from the Dwebble. Air Slash misses into Porygon. Porygon gonna get the prevent. Does it actually knock out? It lives to try attack at 8%. Scropey has to come in next. Takes a bunch from the hazards. Gets sacked to the hazards. Volbeat has to be the next switch in for Enigma here. It just dies to Air Slash, and he's gonna have to forfeit the game. Really interesting turn of events, from barely missing out on those knockouts, getting crit by Scald to then die to Aqua Jet. But Volbeat is able to do Volbeat things and just muscle through the team. So Freeze-Eye is able to get the win here against Enigma. In this battle of Black and White Little Cup, we have Hacker versus File. File, probably one of the best Little Cup players of all time, has also done extremely well in Gen 5 Little Cup. I mean, very interesting team here. He's got an Elegant, Ghastly, Ara, and a Porygon, a lot of special attackers here, trying to do big damage into Hacker's defensive core of Frillish, Pawniard, Hippopotas, with Diglett support as trapping to potentially try and help get rid of that Pawniard. Hacker's side of the field, though, does have Dribbler Hippo, but Sand Rush is banned in this tier, so gonna have to see what this Dribbler is going to be trying to do here. As we get into the battle, we see Hippo lead into the Mienfoo, trying to get that Sand up as soon as possible. Feely reveals Taunt Hippo and actually stops the Stealth Rock from going up. Then goes into the Volbeat, takes a knockoff here. Might not be the most impactful since this Volbeat might not have to switch into that much defensively. Porygon's going to trace Weak Armor, take 40% from Brave Bird, but now because it traced the Weak Armor, going to be in Brave Bird knockout range. Goes for a second Brave Bird, yep, and Porygon's just going to have to get sacked here to Hacker's Volbeat. Looking like a bit of a problem at this fast speed tier, but Abra, Choice Scarf reveals Hidden Power, super effective into the Volbeat, knocks it out. Drillbur comes in, clicks EQ with the Mold Breaker, but Elegant has a Balloon, so it is able to be immune to that Earthquake. Smart heads up team building by File here. Goes for Protect here against the Mienfoo Fake Out. Then goes for Thunderbolt against Pawniard as it clicks Pursuit. Smart click there because you'll get your guaranteed damage and you'll get rid of this balloon regardless. Thunderbolt gets clicked again. Para and full para. Unfortunate for Hacker because he does not get that knockout into the Elekid. Goes for Sucker Punch's food knock. Try to switch in, but is unable to go. Ghastly now in against Pawniard. Pawniard now at 10%. Gonna have to see if he can get a coin flip right here. Doesn't go for the Sucker Punch. Ghastly clicks Giga Drain. Gets the knockout. Drillbur comes in next with the Giga Drain click, doesn't get the knockout. Goes for Shadow Claw, gets a crit. Now that is a hiding crit move, but Dribble gonna have to get knocked out now by the Diglett. Stealth Rocks go up from opposing Diglett, gets 1-hit KO'd by Mienfoo HJK. In the 3 vs 3, Abra comes in, scares out the Mienfoo, goes for Psychic, does 44%. Frillish, if it gets that same roll, it does, gonna get knocked down in the Sandstorm, and it's looking over for Hacker. He actually said in chat 1 in 16 twice in a row, but we'll have to see. Hippo is going to do its best to 1v1 this Mienfoo here. Drain Punch gets clicks, does 36%, but the EQ, it does too much damage. Mienfoo's going to go down, but Abra's now back in. Psychic does 52%. Mienfoo, the last hope, not going to be able to do anything against it. And you know, every now and then, I got to show off that, hey, I'm in this tournament too, and I'm actually doing pretty well myself. I'm playing against Rari in DPP Little Cup, and as we get into the match, we see I lead Wailmer into Machop. Just go straight for a Water Spell. Does 62%, a lot of damage to this Chow. Gonna have to switch out now into my own Munchlax. Takes a lot from Pump. I go for a Pirate Punch, protecting a Steel type, but Machop comes in, goes for a Dynamic Punch as my Ghastly comes in. Ghastly going for a Shadow Ball here into the Stunky, does 43%. I go for another Shadow Ball, perhaps protecting a Pursuit, but I'm wrong. Crunch just comes out, kills me immediately. I go for an Aqua Tail, protecting the Gligar to come in, and I get that right. Aqua Tail's gonna miss into my Bronzor. I get a little fortunate there. I go for a Psychic trying to get Chip, but heads up play by me. Skill swap, I steal the Thick Fat from Munchlax to take less from those Fire Punches. I now get my Rocks up for free, and now I'm really healthy. I go into my Wailmer here to try and keep this healthier for later for opposing Glygars. Get back in my Wailmer. Spout not gonna knock out this Chinchou. I have to go into my Munchlax here. We saw we barely lived the pump last time. We do continue to barely live it. I go for Double Edge to get the knockout into myself. And now in a 4 versus 5, I go into my Whalmer. I have to switch out here. I switch out on Boom. Good click by Rari there trying to snipe me. Bronzor is going to take a lot, then knock out to Machop. Dynamic Punch goes for Protect as I opt to just go for a Surf, trying to get that consistent damage. Does knock out the Machop. Munchlax on the other side is going to come in. I go for another Surf. Does 51%. His return gets clicked by the opposition. Doesn't do enough to Whalmer though. Surf gets another kill. Gligar comes in on the other side. Goes for EQ. Does get the kill into the Whalmer. I go into my own Gligar as I go for another Aqua Tail against the Coughing. Coughing comes in, does 54% with Sludge Bomb, and gets a poison to this Chinchou. Comes down to a 50-50. Gligar comes in on the protected electric move, but it's not enough. Pump crit kills, and with only Coughing left. Now at 96% though, could be a bit scary with Boom tied. Thunderbolt does 72%. Sludge Bomb with poison gets the knockout. Night Slash gets clicked. Crit does not matter, gets the kill, and I'm able to win this game. And truthfully, I really only wanted to show this game off because of that skill swap interaction. I had never seen that before personally, and I thought it was really cool, so I get to flex on it in my own channel to you all. In Oras Little Cup, we have some of the best old geners that we have to offer. Hazup versus Wailord. We see Hazup bringing a pretty interesting looking team here with Cottony double fighting, not one you see very often. But it's paired with a Gothita, most likely here to trap those poison types, or in this instance of the field, Snubble. We'll have to see if Hazup's double fighting core is going to be able to get through this Snubble in 2 birds. Whale side though does have the double bird. Gonna have to see if they can break through that Onix on the other side. But Porygon as well could potentially be really scary because that Onix is going to be under a lot of pressure from the 2 bird types. Connie into Pharisee gets a lead, super wrong Hazup. Now it has to eat a Thunder Wave. Timber is now gonna go get this knockoff into Snubble as it reveals itself as a Violite. Play Rough gets clicked, does 75%, does a lot to this Timber, and gets an attack drop. Reveals Poison Jab though, does 44% even through the -2 attack. Play Rough gets clicked again as the Onix has to come in. Gets that speed boost from Weak Armor, goes for an Earthquake that's Mienfoo super fat, only takes 40%. Hydrunka gets clicked by the Cottony into Cottony as it now goes for a knockoff into the Pharisee. Gets a Berry Juice knock, pretty useful into Hazup here. Timber comes in, goes for a Mach Punch. Gets chipped down by Iron Bobs as Giga Rain's going to get knocked out, but now this Pharisee super low, could be very scary against this Gothita now. Earthquake gets clicked again, but that crit's going to do 59%. Hazup goes for a Roxy, predicting the end for the lead, but it actually stays in, gets the knockout into the Onix. Now this is going to be really scary for Hazup here. How is he going to beat the 2 birds? In the back, Connie goes for a Dazzling Gleam, doesn't get this knockout into Pharaoh, lives on 1 HP, then goes for a Prankster Encore. Pranks getting it into T-Wave range. Volby then has to be the switch in. Perhaps predicting the Pharisee to leave the battlefield, but it doesn't do so. Hazup finally gets his first knockout as Mienfoo opts to be the switch. Fletchling comes in on the other side. Now it has to leave with that Mienfoo. Acrobatics gets clicked. Cottony sacked. Thank you for your service. Gothita comes in next. Takes 68% from that Acro, but it's going to get the knockout with Thunderbolt. Archon comes in to revenge kill. He goes for another Thunderbolt actually, and just gets a knockout into the Archon. Really curious play there by Whale to go for that. Then Thunderbolt gets a paralysis into the Mienfoo, slows it down. Porygon's gonna opt to be the switch in here as the Mienfoo just goes for a high jump kick, gets 1 hit knocked out. Snubble's gonna have to come in now afterwards, try and revenge kill this Mienfoo. Volby comes in, heals back up to full HP with Berry Juice, gets 1 hit KO'd by the Play Rough. Mienfoo comes in on the other side of the field. Snubble has to leave to try and have any chance of living this Mienfoo HJK. 39% has an Intimidate. HJK comes out and it gets the knockout. So Hazup, after going down 2 Pokemon really early on with his Gothita, able to knock out both of the flying types. So now what we assume is the Scarf Mienfoo is able to clean up the game. Really well played by both players though. In our first elimination match of the video, we have Jocks versus Kingler. Both of these players are at a 2-2 record, meaning loser of this series will not be able to qualify for Top Cut. As we get into the matchups, we see Whalmer into a Spoink of all things, reveals Item is Thief, steals the Whalmer's Citrus Berry, Water Spout does 62%, but now that Spoink now going to be nice and healthy. Psychics are doing a respectable 33%. Ice Wing opts to be the click here for Jocks. His own Whalmer comes in, goes for a Boom, knocks out Kingler's Whalmer. We're down 2 eggs. Taunt from the Spoink as well as it gets rid of the Sunny Day. Goes for another Thief. Look at this value the Spoink is getting. Bullet Seed opts to be the click. Very interesting tech here. But Ice Wing gets revealed by the Spoink. does 47%. Psychic's gonna get clicked, not get the knockout into this Trapinch. EQ gets the knockout into Spoink, but Trapinch is now down a berry. They're now Trapinches are gonna trade EQs into each other, but because Kinglers has not proc berry yet, he's gonna beat Jox's 1v1. Egg is gonna have to be the switch on the other side. Goes for another Bullet Seed, gets 3 hits into this Elekid, but reveals Hidden Power super effective, knocks out the Elekid. Pony Call opts to be the switch on the other side, goes for its own Sunny Day Fire Blast, does 88% of this Snubble, goes for a Thief, not knowing how berries work. It's Gen 3, man. He now goes for a Thief in the Substitute. Substitute doesn't break. Solar Beam only does 40%. Now the sub breaks. Goes for yet another one. Goes for a Double Edge. Jock stalling out his own Sun turns here. Oh, but he's trying to get his Citrus Berry. Goes for another Sun, but Double Edge recoil is going to do so much damage. You're going to leave it this Ponytail now at 20%, but Trapinch in the back has Quick Attack. Curious plays here by Jox. Goes for Barrier, trying to not take a lot for this Trapinch here. But Barrier, even through the +2 attack, taking 50%. Now goes for a Calm Mind as Kingler went for Quick Attack. Goes for another Quick Attack into this Abra. Trapinch is going to get sacked here. The Elekid has to come in. Substitute gets clicked as it goes for a Thief, trying to steal this. Just very good heads up click here by Kingler. Goes for a Thunderbolt. Does 45%. Gets 1 hit KO'd by the Psychic. Reveals his own Abra. Citrus Berry gets clicked. Citrus Berry gets stolen by both sides. One then the other. Coughing reveals to be the last Pokemon. Psychic gets a 1-hit knockout. And really close game here by both players. But Kingler's able to not only win this, but also then the series and keep himself in tournament. Keep his tournament life on the line. Finally, we're going back to Gen 5 Little Cup. We have Bleely versus Taz and another 2-2 series match. This is game 3, so loser of this match, again, not going to be able to qualify for top cut. As we look at the matchups of the two teams, we see Taz is opting for a Larvesta here, obviously with that bug typing going to resist those Mienfoo moves, but that 4x rock weakness, we can see that's why there's a Staryu on the other side of the field to remove those hazards. Really obviously is going to have to hope his Digley here has Stealth Rocks to try and chip down this Larvesta, and if it does, then potentially use that Ghastly to his advantage to stop the spin. On Bleely's side of the field, we do see that there is Porygon, Abra, Ghastly. A lot of special attackers going to hopefully pressure down that Ponyard on Taz's side of the field. As we get into the matchup, we see Ghastly lead into the Vullaby. Going to have to opt to switch out here as Ghastly goes for a Will-O-Wisp. Most likely could be Natural Cure though, as we see with the Trace Porygon that it is. Porygon's going to take the Scald, not get burnt, but would be able to heal it away as Staryu did this turn. Tridac gets clicked, does 40% to Fu, no status. Mienfoo goes for a U-turn as the Staryu opts to be the switch in again. Goes for a Scald, does 48%, burns the Ghastly, goes for a Sludge Bomb, does 57. No poison though, this Ghastly's already really low as reveals recover. He's now just going to go for another Sludge Bomb, potentially just trying to 1v1 this Staryu for something else in the back. We'll have to see. Diglett with the Air Balloon does get this trap into the Staryu, so now 5 versus 5. Larvesta comes in on the other side, goes for a Flare Blitz. No fire resist on Bleely's side, actually. Very free move to be clicking. Fullby gets a speed boost and reveals itself as Varus. Good heads up click to try and stay at full HP to beat that Larvesta later down the line. Ponyard comes in, takes a knockoff. Could be good for that Abra in the back, but does get Stealth Rocks in return. Does 39% to Mienfoo with Iron Heads. Mienfoo U-turns on the Volby, now giving it a speed boost. Bleely has to go into his own here. Takes a knockoff. Is going to get that speed boost as it loses its Violite. Goes for Brave Bird. Does not get the knockout though. Volby living on 14%. But to get this KO, probably going to have to go for its own Brave Bird. Then die to recoil. Yep, so we're now in a 4 versus 4. Larvesta comes in against the Mienfoo. Goes for a U-turn. Potentially revealing itself as might be fast Larvesta here. Bleely went for a knockoff thinking so as well. Sludge Bomb gets clicked. But Mienfoo's going to lead the battlefield, now going to his own Diglett. Goes for Stealth Rocks, trying to get as much damage into that Larvesta as possible, but the Ghastly reveals Energy Ball and Sucker Punch the Abra. Crit's Hidden Power will have to most likely matter. Larvesta comes in 35%. Goes for a Flare Blitz, gets a knockout into the Mienfoo. Porygon comes in on the other side for Bleely. Traces the Fame Body might be useful with the last two Mons in the back. Flare Blitz does 52%, but Bleely smart to recover there. But Mienfoo comes in on the other side. Goes for a Substitute predicting a T-Wave, and he gets it right. Reveals High Jump Kick, get the knockout into the Porygon. And this game looks over for Bleely. Really heads up click there to go for the Substitute to try and to then be able to beat that Abra 1v1 and not have to bring it down to a Sucker Punch Coin Flip. And Taz continues his run to try and make it to Top Cut. Thanks y'all for watching the video. Make sure to check out the video on screen now, as that's week 6, the final week of the regular season. Anyways, take care.